All right, let's get it
All right.
bracking.
All right, let's get it started. So, we're kind of interested in the topic of how the internet has kind of changed over time.
Right,
When it was first started, it was kind of niche. A lot of quirky people, a lot of people with great ideas kind of got on board and just started posting content and
right,
like exploring the different possibilities. And it was like this new solution of decentralizing content
right,
and publications. And now, like maybe 5 years ago, we thought, okay, this is definitely a possibility. Like 5, 10 years ago, with the advent of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But as it's become 2018, it feels more of the opposite. Like we're
right.
just going back to the traditional media
It's
standards.
like what was the promise of the internet?
Right.
Was supposed to be this kind of ultimate like democratization, like decentralization, which is funny because it's a kind of a conversation we're having now about other things. But besides the point, you think about like what the internet was supposed to or could have been compared to what it is now, and like has it fallen short? Has it exceeded? And I think we should put it out there. Like I'm not like a computer, like I'm not a CS guy.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I'm a guy that watches
Yeah.
like Jimmy Fallon
Yeah,
videos and like porn.
neither
You
am
know
I.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
But like you think about what the internet is now, and like do you think the internet has fallen short to what it should have been in your opinion?
It's hard to say because when I was growing up, I had limited access. Like maybe,
Right. Yeah, it's important to note we grew up in a unique time where we were pre-internet and then we had internet and now we're just always on the internet.
right, exactly. Like we didn't grow up with the internet from day one,
Right.
and we kind of saw it evolve from like more just like big companies or institutions using it to making it available to consumers, right?
Right.
Like the first websites I visited were like either educational ones or like addicting games.
Right.
Like that was it. And then now I'm like spending most of my time on Twitter, YouTube, like Facebook, like the social media channels. And nowadays, like back then, it felt like it was organic content made by anonymous people, and it was just cool content that I could discover
Yeah.
at my own leisure. But now it just feels like when YouTube first started, I was actually finding out like cool videos,
Yeah.
like low production value.
Niga Higa.
Yeah, Niga Higa, Kev Jumba, like Crazy Asian Mother,
Yeah.
like all those different types. Like they're all fitting into like these niche demographics, and we're doing well in it. But since then, it's slowly been kind of bastardized by corporate money,
Sure.
and like they're just pushing in like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon
Yeah.
or the Ellen Show, like constantly. Like that's on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
front page, or that's what's always trending,
Yeah.
or a trailer, even though it's got 80,000 views in 3 days.
Yeah.
It's like there's videos that get 1 million or 2 million views in a day or two, but because it's like by an independent creator, it's not valued as much.
Right.
So, in that sense, I kind of feel like it's let us down because I like that discovery aspect, right?
Right.
And it's also important to have access to like traditional media content online. But I feel like people who want to see that are going to search that out.
Sure.
But it's harder to discover random content.
Sure.
Like that's why it's important to propel that stuff onto the trending page or onto the homepage.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's like, yeah, I mean, I think we agree on that. It's like there was when the internet started, or like when YouTube, for example, began, it was kind of about like empowering the independent creator, you know? Like YouTube was like Napster, you know, or something where it was like it's not about who has the most money, you know? Like you can make a video now, just use your like dad's video camera, you know, and like make a video and you could be huge, you know, like the examples you name, like Niga Higa, Kev Jumba. I think Bo Burnham is an example I like to use a lot because he kind of like he went beyond, he like transcended it and used that platform. And like, it's just, did it deviate so much from that to the point where now, like everything you see on YouTube, like all the videos, even that I'm guilty of consuming, it's just like NBC, you know, or like ESPN even. Right. And like, of course, there's still been an opening for like independent creators. You still have seen like the Biebers and all this stuff get careers through it. Yeah. but it just somehow feels like it's fallen short of what it could have been, just because of how much like corporate infiltration like comes in. And what like I don't know, what do you think the cause of that is? Because I look at it like monetization and the opportunity to monetize is kind of changed a lot of things.
Like at the end of the day, the platforms aren't a free service, like a public service, right? They're
Right.
still for-profit companies,
Right.
right? So that's why Facebook's pushing out so many ads and just trying to, and there's like an algorithm behind it that determines what is the most viral thing that'll get spread throughout, so that
Right.
like the ads attached to it will get the most views and then increase like the bottom line. For YouTube, the same thing, which was at one point I thought like the symbol of actually pushing up aspiring independent creators. Now you're seeing so many creators complaining that they feel like they're sidelined. They have to follow like for a while, like the algorithm always changes to
Right.
benefit YouTube, right? Like you want to increase ad revenue. How do you do that? You have to increase watch time. You have
Right.
to improve like the recommended videos. So I see like that aspect of it, but it just feels like a lot of the creators are feeling like sidelined. They feel like, well, now like I'm following all the rules and I'm still not getting promoted. My subscribers still aren't getting my videos,
Right.
and everything that's trending is usually paid for.
Yeah.
And it's only like the top 20, top 50 YouTubers that get any like any space on the front page.
Right.
And so it's kind of been, I feel like you're starting to see the downfall, but I mean I see it from their perspective, right? Like they're wanting to compete with TV or Netflix,
Sure.
like in terms like YouTube is not as profitable as Netflix or traditional media yet,
Yeah.
and so maybe they want to go away from independent creators, but I mean they still need a home because there's so many people that have good ideas,
Yeah.
and the content you see that's pushed is like cookie cutter, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same thing week to week.
And they began as like a platform to empower independent creators. And I don't know, you think about something like Reddit, which is there's it's not it's not like a monetization scheme for users, It's just kind of purely about content and nothing else. And because of that, it works so well in that it's the most interesting content that's reaching the top, and like you will get weeded out if you're just trying to like bullshit and like self promote or something like that. And I guess I don't know, maybe like a middle ground. Like we talk about Vimeo, as like a place where you can make some money as a creator. There are opportunities to make some money. However, it still exists intact as like a community of like creators, like filmmakers, people who like film, who are kind of all there with a passion, for like film, like content in that form. And it hasn't been like dirtied by like corporate gain, like vultures everywhere just trying to make a buck. And what do you think? Like, what do you think Vimeo's done right that YouTube has done wrong?
Well, I mean, I think videos kind of kept true to its core in that it's empowering independent creators and serving as a homepage for maybe things that don't have mass appeal,
Sure.
but are very artistic and like a novel way to see something, right? I think, but I don't know, like Vimeo and YouTube were kind of competing at one point,
Right.
and it's kind of, I feel like they didn't really have a choice of competing with YouTube directly once it was acquired by Google, so they kind of went into this niche route.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
You said a mass appeal. Yeah. And like what does that mean? Like what makes certain type of content like a more palatable to the masses, and why is like a 10-minute short film on Vimeo not really for the masses? Because like I'm sure we'd really like it,
Right.
And like it's like there's no meaning that we're really deriving from like like Jimmy Fallon interviewing like Margot Robbie or something. Although it's like I'm gonna watch it,
Exactly.
but why is it like that,
I mean, it's the same reason like movies like one of your favorites, Y Tu Mama Tambien,
Yeah.
doesn't get the same views as Avengers Infinity Wars, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like people just want entertainment and amusement over just having to think through the entire thing, digesting it, and then constantly doing that every video every time.
Right.
Like I was thinking, I don't know if this stat is true, but it feels like more people visit Disney World or Disneyland more than the Louvre each year.
Right.
Like people want amusement rather than to appreciate art.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem. Like, of course, people are going to go to the platform because it's amusing if they see Jimmy Fallon or like John Oliver, right?
Right.
But like you have to help promote, like in general. Like I don't know. I feel like YouTube's gone far from its values in
No,
that.
what you're saying about like Disneyland or Disney World versus like the Louvre, you think about like I don't know, like I have a theory that I truly believe art to be like objective, you know, and that like time passing is kind of what is time is like the arbiter of quality,
Right.
and the fact that after all this time, like a Michael Jackson song still feels the same. It still feels relevant.
Right.
However, like a Britney Spears song
Right.
feels kind of like cheesy, you know? Although you kind of smile, you know, you had a good time one time, but it's like, it's a little cringeworthy at the core of it. In the same way that like a Stanley Kubrick movie is just still like real as shit right now.
Right.
Where like even as good as like a movie like I don't know, dude. Like there are the Infinity Wars of the '80s. You know,
Right.
it's like it's not appreciated in the same way, and in the same way that like a doctor who has had he's put in years of research into medicine, has the most credible opinion on medicine.
Right.
People who have put years into film or music, like, can tell you when an album or a movie comes out, this is a good quality
Right.
album, you know, and this is what should be at the forefront. And this other one, this is a capital like endeavor, and this should not be at the forefront. And the issue is that the people that are in control of the platforms are not the people who have the most education
Right.
in the art. But it's like it's a very like elitist kind of.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's like maybe the arbiter is just your subjective like point of view, you know.
Right,
So it's
right,
like
right.
complicated.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I think at some point when we're going back to like YouTube and Vimeo,
Yeah.
it's like Vimeo is just more intact and more self-sustaining as a community, just because at some point they've turned down like a huge check,
Right.
you know. Whereas Google took that check, and now it's a race, you know. Now it's
Right.
like, how do we get the most money?
Like same thing with, I feel like you could say the same thing about SoundCloud, right?
Right.
Like they were trying to promote independent creators and not really putting on big name labels or
Yeah.
artists on it. And like they kind of suffered because of that, right?
Yeah.
Like there's not as much of a market for those people, and like how do you find what the best content is, right?
Right.
Like all you can count is view time and like replayability at the end of the day,
Yeah.
especially for something like music. And like there's always this concept of the starving artist. Like art is seldom appreciated during its time. Like
Right.
few artists are celebrities when they're living, right? Except for nowadays, like in the last 100 or so years, like in music at least.
Yeah.
But it felt like there was a chance, right, with the internet that this could change the
Exactly.
paradigm, right?
Exactly.
And it doesn't feel that way because you see movies like Furious 8
Yeah.
and like Transformers 7
Yeah. Yeah.
and Avengers like number 30.
It's like you didn't try your hardest.
Right.
You know, like this isn't the best you could have done.
Exactly. And it's like, it seems like the internet is taking that kind of route to revenue and profit, and they're just and they're slowly just kind of pushing out a lot of independent creators, whether it's artists or just people trying to have fun and like, you know, just enjoying the creative process, even if they don't identify as artists. Like now I don't know. I mean, the internet is still good in that it's a home and it's free. I mean, other than like your internet bill at the end
Right.
of the.
But yeah, like our parents pay for that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly. Somehow that works out. Yeah, like it's free to upload at least, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, becoming discoverable is like a challenge, I think, every day.
You think about something like Instagram, and I mean, I'm still fixated on this like Louvre versus Disney World argument, because I think like what the possibility of monetization has done, and it's almost like what we're talking about was supposed to happen has happened, but not in the way that it should have happened,
Right.
because now you have high schoolers that really see an opportunity to make a living off of
Right.
like Instagram,
Right.
but it's not through making like cool content.
Yeah.
It's through kind of making what's essentially like pornography.
Right.
But like not even I don't even mean that in terms of like lust, although there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of things that hit you at the same place that pornography does, where it's like very surface level, like it's like just a hit of dopamine, you know, like real quick.
Like word porn or food porn, things like that.
And just like porn too,
Yeah,
which is pretty much most of Instagram.
Right.
But like you have like the way I see it, it's like people really want to like people really want something real,
Right.
you know? But if you just kind of give them like some dopamine real quick, they'll be like, "All right, this is fine," you know? And you just kind of distract them from it.
Right.
And the Louvre versus Disney World,
Right.
there has to be a middle ground,
Right.
which is what I think Kanye is, you know, as a musician, or what like Paul Thomas Anderson as like a filmmaker, you know, or like you have all these like middle grounds, which is what we need to be, where we need to be at, you know, and if anything, we can kind of push like Kanye making something like College Dropout and Graduation and all this allowed him to make something like Yeezus, which is so like that's not mainstream by any standards, but because he's just kind of like primed you up, you know, like lubed you up. He's just giving you that. Then he can give you some like real like in-depth art,
Right.
and you can take it for what it is.
Right. And yeah. I mean, Kanye's definitely, and we're just big fans, but
Every
I think-
conversation we have will eventually deviate to Kanye.
yeah, exactly. Kanye West is, I mean, like I feel like it's an exception. Like he's to music
Sure.
what I guess Nolan isn't even that.
But Christopher
Nolan's
Nolan's a good example, you know, like he
you're right.
made like whether or not it's like thematically that deep or whatever. It's like
Right.
you watch Interstellar was such a great viewing experience,
Right.
and you can watch it again.
Right.
You know, like Black Panther, the second viewing is not going to be like dope. You know,
Right,
like
right.
I promise you that. You know,
Right.
so it's like, I mean, of course, it's a cultural moment. All that stuff. You know, it's important for like diversity. You know, etc.
Right.
but I mean, not to deviate too much from like the internet,
Right.
but I think it's so tied into like what content itself has become, because the internet, the rules have been set up in such a way where the winners are not the ones who make the best content, but make the most kind of like surface level, accessible,
Right.
what's the word? Like disposable, like disposable content, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because on Instagram now it's mostly just like ass models
Yeah.
and meme pages, which are the biggest things.
And it's like I like it, you know, like I'm
Right.
watching them, you know?
Right, exactly. And then maybe 5 years ago, the biggest thing was Humans of New York,
Yeah.
which was actually real.
Yes.
Like it was both art and it had a message, and it could apply to everybody. So, I mean, of course, that's like 1 in a million, but how do you find that middle ground? Because most people at the end of the day, they just want like that quick boost.
right.
Like I feel like just people have to change in order for the model to change, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And I think it's so weird to make like blanket statements that are like putting people at fault, because if for all intensive purposes we are the minority in this case, you know, like we're the anomaly. So it's like maybe are we the ones that's supposed to change?
Right.
But it just comes down to belief at the end of the day, and our belief that what we deem to be good is good.
Yeah.
And it's narcissistic or whatever, but like it is what it is. And I think you like it comes from like people need to. I think people need to be exposed to higher quality content at an earlier age or at a higher frequency, and they need to be able to recognize what, like when I see a movie like Infinity Wars or something, which I haven't seen. But like I've seen it, you know what I mean? Like I know what it's gonna be. It's like you're selling me something, you know? Like you're not trying to give me the most fulfilling experience. You're trying to sell me something.
Right.
And I think people need to be able to recognize that in all art,
Yeah.
and from there we can. I don't know. Do you think if all art was really good, or like the majority of art was like Kanye, Frank Ocean level, do you think the world would be objectively better or something?
I don't know. I don't know about that because you still need something to bump to at like a bar or club, or just when
Sure,
you need to get hyped up before an event or something. Like you still need that music, even
sure,
though it's not like it's like, oh, look at the layers in this music,
sure,
like how
sure,
much effort, like 5,000 hours put in. I can
sure.
feel it. Like you still need that, and more often than not, like it's like you need balance. Like you need both like that dopamine hit and stuff you can appreciate. And I find that like if you want to be in the middle, that's like the hardest spot to hit.
Right,
Um, like on YouTube right now, it's like the biggest YouTubers, like the fastest growing channels, were like Logan Paul and Jake Paul,
right.
and you can just tell it's like garbage content.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
mean, anyone that's above, I hope 14, 15, can just tell that.
This is a joke.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like you're just capitalizing on little kids.
Low self-esteem
Yeah,
and like lack of like strong parenting,
right,
some shit
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like, yeah, like capitalizing on their insecurities.
Yeah.
It's like they're your online friends.
It's like
That's
we're back to like People Magazine and like Us Weekly and
right,
shit like that.
exactly.
Where we're like, yeah, it's like people like they're capitalists and they're artists, irrespective of your occupation. It's about your mindset, and like you have so much content that's being created with the goal of like capital gain, and the issue is that platforms like YouTube are supporting that.
Yeah,
And you can only get so many unicorns, like so many like Casey Neistats or whatever, that are making like independent content that's truly, and there's still opportunities to monetize, like there's still ways where like you can make money, but it's like I don't know, companies just got to uphold certain principles
yeah.
according to me. you know
Right.
so like again, no answers, just like questions.
I think there's one good example though. Like because Amazon is kind of taking over. They're like, taking a certain cut of revenue from purchases made through their platform. But on the other hand, there's like sites like Etsy which promote like independent craftspeople,
Right.
which is kind of cool, and they're kind of floating by, and they're still a home.
Yeah.
Like I think we just have to live with the idea that like true like independent craftsmanship is just going to be niche. Like
Yeah,
it's
and like niche enough or niche enough to be self-sustaining, maybe,
right.
but not the mainstream. But like you're saying, we just gotta accept that.
I don't know. I don't know if we should accept it because on the other side, there's something like Alibaba. Um, they're not like Amazon. They help sell like product to small business owners. So they're not really artists, but they're just trying to make a living for themselves.
Right.
So they're ordering in bulk from these
Right.
independent
It is kind of a
contractors.
point of privilege to be so hooked on art or
Yeah.
like the quality of art.
Right, exactly.
Where it's like some people are really just trying to like sell some shit, like
Right.
get some food for their family.
Exactly.
I think you're touching on, it's important to at least the goal of what we want, which has somewhat moved forward. It's like there are some drawbacks as well, like fake news. The fact that the internet has empowered anyone to say anything. So now you have what we wish to be kind of corp run, like New York Times or something. It's like now that has become, it's almost like the news space has become what we wish the like YouTube space would have been. Although like BuzzFeed and shit is trash, but like you have you have like facts being given to you by like creators, like content creators, instead of like people who are devoted to like journalism, like factual. I don't know. Purists are just becoming a niche essentially. And like if you want something like real, maybe you're just gonna have to be in that bubble of like, this is where oh, you're on YouTube, like we're on Vimeo, where all like the real shit is. But it's like, then aren't we like we're not accomplishing anything because we're all over here being like real and artsy, and like you're over here watching like Jimmy Fallon,
And then that kind of just builds this attitude of like snobbery, I feel.
Exactly.
Like we're better than you.
Exactly.
and that's not good
which just
either.
further divides it.
Yeah,
Even though
exactly.
all the people on Vimeo are like secretly on YouTube,
Right,
you know, like
exactly.
watching whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
No, 100%.
An underrated show.
Yeah,
Not to
that's modern art in
Yeah.
action. Yeah, but I mean, the internet for sure. Like it's democratized a lot. Like people have access to educational videos
yeah.
if they just have an internet connection, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right. We can't be so like, or I can't be so like snobby about it
right.
because it's really just opened the door so much.
Yeah.
But I guess at the core of it, it's like it could be more.
Right.
You know, like we can do more.
Right.
And but yeah, you have things like Khan Academy, which is a game changer. You know, like it's really a game changer
Yep.
where it's like you're giving kids education
Mm-hmm.
and helping kids who didn't study do well on the test. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
But
exactly.
like, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's happening, and like maybe we got to be patient.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like things are moving. I think it just comes down to like certain platforms holding themselves to a certain set of principles
Yeah.
because like you're gonna be 100 millionaire, but like maybe like let's hold off on the billions
Yeah.
just so we can have some like integrity in our content.
Yeah.
But I think this all kind of ties in. I mean, I don't know, maybe not to get too tangential, but like we talk about like blockchain and like Bitcoin and kind of the future of how decentralization was the goal of the internet and is now the goal of like currency.
Right.
And it's like it almost is like what we've learned from the internet is like, okay, so at some point the powers that be come into play and take control and say like, all right, well, we need to regulate this.
Yeah, I think 100%. I don't know what the future of the blockchain is, especially, I mean, Bitcoin for sure. I think we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Like there are a lot of like smart people that are like long Bitcoin, meaning like they're pretty positive it'll bounce back and
Right.
will be kind of
I mean, yeah, I got a lot of money riding on it.
right, right. Yeah, or like a hold of value or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the smart people are also people who are like vanguards of the internet,
Right.
like who wanted that decentralization,
Right.
and they kind of see an opportunity again to make it that way. And I guess we'll only see in time if it'll happen. Yeah.
It's our duty to like do what we can, you know, at least we should try not to contribute to the noise and try and make something of quality,
Right.
which we're failing at miserably.
Yeah, and with that, yeah.